It was breaking news. Diddy adopted a white child. I want you to tell them the story. I adopted you because I felt.
Terrence Howard has just come forward with some startling claims. He's accusing Diddy of allegedly keeping tabs on his adopted daughter Ava. What's unfolding now could spiral fast. We all thought Terrence had closed that chapter after saying Diddy once made an inappropriate move on him. But apparently, there's more to the story than he let on during that podcast. And here's the real twist. The federal investigation into Diddy is heating up. Authorities have recently expanded the indictment, tacking on 2 additional charges and modifying some of the original ones. According to whispers on the street, Ava might now be listed as one of the new alleged victims. As wild as that sounds, the situation appears to be growing more intense by the day. Word on the street is that Ava may soon step into the courtroom spotlight. Rumors suggest she's preparing to testify against Diddy. With that move, the case is poised to intensify fast. And guess who might be leading the charge? Terrence Howard. It's starting to look like he could be the key figure in bringing Diddy down. Let's rewind a bit. Terrence initially dropped a bombshell on a podcast, just when everyone thought the worst was already out. As if the allegations of Diddy exploiting young artists weren't disturbing enough, Terrence revealed something even more personal. He claimed Diddy once made unwanted advances toward him, trying to pull him into a romantic entanglement. That revelation may just be the tip of the iceberg in a story that's only getting messier.
Wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me.
So, at one point he actually asked me to be his acting coach for a bit. I head over there, expecting we're about to get into some work. He's just sitting there, not saying much, just watching me. So I ask, alright, what scene or material do you want to dive into? Still nothing, just this quiet stare. Then out of nowhere he switches it up and says, hey, would you help me with something? I want to hear your music. So I end up going over and start playing him some of my tracks. So I'm playing him some of my music, right? And the whole time he's just sitting there staring like he's waiting for something else. Then later my assistant pulls me aside and says, you know he wants to hang out with you next week. I ask, for what? And without missing a beat, my assistant goes, honestly, I think he's trying to hook up with you. That's when it all clicked. Everything made sense in that moment. After that, I cut off communication completely. When you realize someone's crossing boundaries, you learn quickly to keep your distance. I've had producers come at me the wrong way before, and I've made it clear, I don't play like that. If they step out of line, I let them know real fast, even if it means threatening to knock some sense into them. He said the way Diddy was looking at him, it wasn't just a stare. Felt like he was being sized up like a woman would be. And for any man grounded in his masculinity, that kind of energy gets a real response. No hesitation. But here's where it gets deeper. In that same conversation, Terrence dropped another heavy truth. He's not alone. He claimed that Diddy has a pattern, one that specifically targets black men. According to him, these so-called freak-off gatherings weren't just wild parties. They were calculated environments. Terrence described them as psychological traps, designed to strip these men of their dignity, piece by piece, until they were left exposed and vulnerable. He wasn't just talking about bad behavior. He was hinting at a deliberate strategy. Terrence didn't mince words. He spoke about a deeper kind of violation, saying it wasn't just about crossing a line, but about stripping men of their very manhood. And according to him, this wasn't some isolated experience. Without naming names, he alluded to other men in the industry who've endured similar encounters but chose silence, whether out of fear, shame, or both. He painted a picture of a calculated pattern, alleging that Diddy targets black men at their most vulnerable, when their guard is down. These weren't just parties, Terrence said. They were orchestrated scenarios, meant to break a person down from the inside. And the impact, devastating. In his words, once someone loses that sense of self, that masculine core, they rarely come back from it. That's what he saw in those who went to Diddy's infamous gatherings. Terrence pointed out how some of these individuals, driven by greed and ambition, thought they could act without facing any consequences. They got caught up, manipulated by desires that overshadowed their dignity, sacrificing their manhood in the process. He emphasized that nothing should ever be more important than standing firm as a man. When Terrence first shared his explosive revelations, the internet went wild. But just when everyone thought they'd heard the worst, whispers started circulating. Those close to the situation began hinting that Terrence wasn't revealing everything. The buzz. He had something even darker about Diddy tucked away. Something that could shake the entire industry once it came to light. The internet was buzzing when Terrence dropped a bombshell on Twitter, fueling even more speculation. In a video post, he alluded to being threatened by some incredibly powerful figures, and hinted he might be ready to expose everything he knew. To make sure there was no confusion, he added the hashtag man card, a clear nod to the same issues he discussed on that podcast. The message was loud and clear. Terrence wasn't backing down, and if push came to shove, he was prepared to reveal the full extent of what he'd experienced with Diddy.
My name's Ava. I'm a Scorpio.
No. What's your last name?
Ava.
What's your other last name?
Ava.
Ava Baroni Cone?
Terrence made it clear, if you're going to challenge the truths he's revealing, at least have the courage to face him directly, speak with respect, and say it like a man. He laid down the gauntlet, saying if it came to that, they would settle things honorably. But it wouldn't end well for everyone involved. Now, it seems Terrence is finally starting to pull back the curtain on what he knows. Word on the street is that his revelations are connected to Diddy's adopted daughter, Ava Barron, and the real story behind what happened to her. Over the last few years, fans have been questioning the truth about Ava, and it looks like Terrence might be the one to shed some light on the situation. As Terrence's revelations continue, it's becoming clear that things may not be as they seemed with Ava. Fans are starting to connect the dots, with some even speculating that she could be one of Diddy's alleged victims. And the situation doesn't look promising for her either. To rewind a bit, let's go back to 2020, right in the thick of the pandemic. Diddy made an unexpected and surprising announcement. He had adopted a young white girl, Ava Barron Combs. Just like that, she was presented as the newest member of the Combs family, making headlines overnight. He went live to introduce her, but little did we know, this would be just the beginning of a much deeper story. Diddy took to Instagram to introduce Ava, proudly sharing her with his followers. The whole moment felt spontaneous, almost out of nowhere. Because it was so unexpected, people either brushed it off or quickly moved past it. In fact, Ava has rarely been mentioned since, which might explain why she wasn't brought up again, until Diddy's recent legal troubles started making headlines. Back then, his announcement appeared to be a sweet, compassionate act, adopting a child in the middle of a global crisis when so many kids were in need of a family. It seemed like the kind of heartwarming gesture people could easily get behind. At the time, Diddy's decision to adopt Ava seemed like a truly generous move, offering a child much-needed support and stability during a chaotic period. People applauded him for stepping up and doing something positive. However, with everything that's come to light about him recently, that same video now carries a much darker tone. What once seemed like a noble act now leaves many viewers questioning his true intentions, watching with a more skeptical eye than before.
Lila when I was 6 months old.
6 months.
And then basically
He spoke about his decision to adopt, reflecting on how it wasn't just about taking in a child, it was about offering care and protection. He described it as a moment when he saw Ava standing there and something inside him said, "This child needs a chance." In his words, it wasn't about being the next Madonna, Charlize Theron, or Sandra Bullock adopting kids. It was about something deeper. He felt a connection, a sense that Ava had potential and deserved a better life. It wasn't about making headlines. It was about doing what he believed was right, offering her a home and a future. There was also a strange emphasis on Ava having a black parent to care for her and guide her, which felt like an odd addition to the narrative. He made sure to clarify some details, saying, "I met Jessie when she was just 6 months old, and she was part of a bigger family, 4 siblings in total." I'd visit often, and it felt like we were all close. It wasn't some random thing. I got permission from her mother to spend time with her. But this explanation only added to the confusion online. And if that wasn't enough, Diddy made things even more questionable by publicly comparing his decision to adopt to that of Madonna's. The comparison felt off, and it raised more eyebrows than it likely intended, as it seemed to blur the lines between genuine care and something else entirely. Let's take a moment to step back and really think about this. Comparing his adoption to Madonna's is a bold move, and not in a good way. Madonna's adoptions have been surrounded by controversy for years. Reports have surfaced suggesting that not all of her adoptions followed the proper legal channels. In fact, the Ethiopian World Federation even accused her of exploiting vulnerable children, claiming she tricked parents into handing over their kids with promises of better opportunities in the US, only to adopt them outright instead. Given this history, it's no surprise that people raised their eyebrows when Diddy made the comparison. It made many question the motivations behind his own decision, and whether it was driven by the same kind of questionable practices. What's raising eyebrows now isn't just the comparison to Madonna's adoption. It's the unsettling dynamics in that video Diddy posted. In the footage, his sons take center stage, while Ava is relegated to the background. Fans have started questioning why Ava, who's part of the family, wasn't shown playing with Diddy's daughters. Why was the spotlight on the boys, and not her? More troubling, though, is Ava's visible discomfort in the video. Her body language and facial expressions suggested she wasn't entirely at ease, leaving viewers to wonder what was really happening behind the scenes. It's these small details that have sparked the most concern. The video sparked a wave of speculation among viewers, leaving many wondering, was it simply an awkward moment, or was there something more unsettling beneath the surface? Some believe the atmosphere felt off, and when you factor in the tense dynamics surrounding Diddy's sons, it only adds to the discomfort. Justin, for example, has been linked to a lawsuit involving Lil Rod, while Christian is dealing with his own legal troubles. With all this drama swirling, it's not hard to imagine the room having a tense, even eerie vibe. But perhaps the most troubling detail of all was Ava's sudden disappearance from the scene. After that video, she seemed to vanish from the public eye, raising even more questions about what's truly going on behind the scenes. After that video, Ava seemed to fade from the spotlight entirely. Aside from a few fleeting moments with Diddy's twin daughters, Jessie and Delilah, she disappeared from public view. There were no more family photos, no follow-up videos. Just silence. Given that Diddy referred to her as Papa Combs, one would expect her to have a more consistent presence in his life. But now, with the disturbing allegations surrounding Diddy, claims of trafficking and mistreatment of women, fans are starting to ask uncomfortable questions. Ava's sudden disappearance has sparked a flood of speculation about what really happened to her, leaving many to wonder if there's more to the story than we've been led to believe. The story surrounding Diddy's adoption of Ava is beginning to unravel like a real-life mystery, with more questions than answers. People are starting to wonder if there's a hidden narrative behind the scenes that we've all missed. And just when things seemed like they couldn't get more complicated, Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, stepped forward to reveal some shocking details. According to Gene, Diddy didn't just mistreat Ava. He allegedly exploited her. He went on to claim that the entire adoption was nothing more than a calculated publicity stunt, a move designed to win public sympathy and boost Diddy's image at a time when his reputation needed it most. As the pandemic unfolded, Diddy seemingly got the attention he craved from adopting Ava, but once he had the spotlight, Gene Deal claims he discarded her as though she never truly mattered. According to Gene, Diddy's actions were far from sincere. He painted a chilling picture, saying, "He found a homeless girl, brought her into his world under the pretense of adoption, and then paraded her around like she was part of the family, only for the sake of appearances." Behind closed doors, though, Gene suggests the adoption was nothing more than a facade, a carefully crafted illusion. While Gene didn't directly accuse Diddy of harming Ava, his words left plenty of room for interpretation, hinting at something darker lurking beneath the surface. He suggested that many in the industry already know the unsettling truths about Diddy's character, implying that the reality of the situation is far more sinister than the public is aware. Suffice it to say, Gene didn't hold back, and the revelations he shared certainly raised more questions than answers.
It was going on the premises of
Diddy's behavior isn't new, and he's not the only one in the industry with a cloud of controversy surrounding him. There are countless stories circulating not just about him, but about other powerful figures as well. Take Jimmy, for example. He has charges against him, yet his public relations team is working overtime to keep that from making headlines. It's all carefully swept under the rug, with the major news outlets keeping quiet, as if these stories don't even exist. This kind of thing happens often, with the industry trying to bury uncomfortable truths. But eventually, as time passes, the cycle repeats itself, and soon enough, we'll be hearing about another chapter of Bad Boy, without the world ever truly confronting the darker side of it all. It's a sad reality, but as some believe, it's a cycle that might continue for years to come. The entertainment industry has a long history of turning a blind eye to the wrongdoings of powerful figures. We've seen it with the likes of R. Kelly, Harvey Weinstein, and Bill Cosby. Men who, for years, were shielded by those around them while their victims suffered in silence. Even in Cassie's lawsuit, she made it clear that Diddy was surrounded by a network of enablers. People who either chose to ignore his behavior or worse, helped to cover it up. So when Gene started revealing bombshell after bombshell, it wasn't hard to imagine what might have been happening behind the scenes all along. But it doesn't stop there. Gene hinted at something even more chilling, suggesting that the truth might be far darker than anyone realized. There are disturbing claims that Diddy might be linked to questionable videos involving Ava, videos that not only raise serious concerns but could potentially be criminal in nature. According to some sources, federal investigators are allegedly on the hunt for these videos, as there are strong indications they may exist. The gravity of these allegations is staggering, suggesting that the investigation could uncover far more than just troubling content.
that all these stories has been around the industry for a long time.
Lives. He is accused of luring women into his orbit, often under the guise of romantic interest, only to use coercion, threats, and force to maintain control over them. This disturbing behavior, according to the charges, involved a systematic pattern of manipulation and exploitation that extended across both personal and professional realms. The allegations describe a disturbing pattern in which Combs allegedly used his power and wealth to coerce women into participating in commercial acts. In exchange for their involvement, these women were promised financial compensation, career opportunities, and even assistance with housing. Some of these acts, which Combs allegedly referred to as freak-offs, were elaborate, orchestrated events that he directed and sometimes recorded. These freak-offs involved not only the women but also male participants, and were staged with a level of detail that suggests they were designed to serve his personal interests while exploiting those involved. The allegations surrounding these freak-offs suggest that Combs, with the help of his associates, allegedly arranged for women to be transported across state lines and even internationally. It's further claimed that some of these women were coerced into sleeping with other men at his infamous parties, with monetary exchanges involved. However, it's crucial to note that the women involved did not give their consent. According to federal investigators, Combs allegedly manipulated and pressured these women into participating in these acts, further exploiting them in the process. The legal documents allege that, from around 2021 to 2024, in the Southern District of New York and other locations, Combs knowingly engaged in actions to recruit, entice, and solicit individuals for commercial sex. These activities were reportedly carried out with a full awareness that T-force, threats, fraud, and coercion would be used to manipulate and control the victims. In some instances, he not only attempted but also assisted in these illegal acts, further perpetuating an environment of exploitation and abuse. The charges suggest that Combs knowingly recruited, enticed, transported, and maintained individuals, causing them to engage in commercial sex acts under duress and with full awareness of the coercion involved. The allegations indicate that these actions were carried out with a reckless disregard for the harm being done. With the heightened attention on Ava's involvement with Diddy, some are speculating that she could be one of the individuals recently included in the federal indictment. Given the growing public focus on her case, it wouldn't be shocking if the authorities are now examining her situation more closely in connection with these serious accusations. After some digging, it seems like there's a possibility that Ava might be added to the list of individuals under investigation. This situation is getting incredibly tangled, but fortunately, we won't have to wait long to uncover the truth. Although the trial has been delayed, it's set to begin soon, and it's safe to say that the revelations are likely to leave us even more stunned than we are right now. But in the meantime, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Drop your comments below, and don't forget to check out the next video for more updates.